This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Kicking off hour 2 here at Money Moves, VSiN, the sports betting network, Sirius XM channel 158. Stormy Buonantony and Jonathan Von Tobel with you. One more hour to go, lots to get to. It is a big day in the NFL, June 1. Always mark your calendar for that. We talk throughout the course of the offseason about the post-June 1 designations. It's also a big time for potential trades. We got a big one earlier today with Myles Garrett going to the Rams. We'll discuss in a moment. Still on trade watch for A.J. Brown from Philadelphia to New England. We have an update on that. Plenty to get to in the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. We're going to preview that at length coming up in about 15 minutes. We will have John Jastrzemski join the program, too, to talk NBA Finals now that that is set, and best bets at the end of the hour. But let's start here off the top with some of this Myles Garrett news, because we finally do know the official compensation in full, which you told me you just had pulled up, correct?
Yep. So Jared Verse, a 2027 first-round pick, a 2028 second-round pick, and a 2029 third-round pick will all go to Cleveland for one Myles Garrett.
Okay.
That is the package.
So I think that the timing is at least a little bit interesting, considering last year was when Myles Garrett actually had the trade demand, and he's like, I'm not going to come play for you guys. Just goes on to win Defensive Player of the Year for the Browns, comes back, kind of quietly signs that extension, and set a single-season record for sacks. Now, this Rams team that was already favored to win the Super Bowl anyways just continues to add and making moves on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, this is their MO. It's been their MO for a really long time. You know, the thought of using picks to go and get established veterans, obviously Matthew Stafford, now here with Myles Garrett, this is exactly what we know that they're going to do. And frankly, I can't really blame them. You're a team that is on the cusp of competing for a Super Bowl. You have the reigning MVP. You were, by all accounts, outside of two results, equals with the Seattle Seahawks when it came to a power rating standpoint. I mean, there was not that much separating those two on a football field. So the fact that you feel that you can ship this off, mortgage the future to an extent, and say, hey, here we go, we want one more crack at this, I think it makes some sense. I will again say that I think it doesn't make sense that you spent a first-round pick on a quarterback that's not going to play for 4 years if you thought your window was now and thus we're going to trade for Myles Garrett. But that is water under the bridge at this point. And I think that when you look at this, could you make the argument, I think it's been tweeted out, their odds to make the playoffs, minus 500, the highest of any team right now up on the board. Yeah, like maybe could you quibble with it being somewhat too high, but this team is well equipped to compete here in the NFC. And really it rests on the decrepit back of one Matthew Stafford. But remember last year, we thought he wasn't even going to be ready, and he won an MVP. So as long as he's healthy and Garrett's going to be out there, this is, I think, arguably the best team in the NFC.
Garrett is a plus 450 favorite for Defensive Player of the Year to repeat and win his third of his career. It's weird. I'm looking on DraftKings right now. The Rams season win total is off the board right now.
Yeah.
They're still live in every other category. We mentioned the futures market. They were around plus 750, 8-1, now as low as 6-1. I'm seeing at DraftKings right now, first shot on the board. The next short shot is Buffalo at 10-1. So you can see the price disparity that we have on that side.
Should note also, because we don't really, so many different ripple effects, up to -3 and -120 versus your team against in Australia.
Yes, that was 3.5, right?
I thought it was 2.5. Is what I had. Yeah, it was 2.5, slightly juiced to the favorite side. So now it's 3 juiced to the favorite side. So just worth pointing out.
Boo! And they're even money favorites, as you mentioned earlier, in the division
West
now as well. How do you feel about that division?
I mean, I think it's deep. I think it's going to be a group that could be relatively competitive. We'll see exactly what Arizona is, having a public discourse with Jacoby Brissett.
They're going to be bad.
Yeah, they're going to be bad. And maybe, like I said, I think Carson Beck should just give the keys and just see what happens. But either way, it's going to be a good division. I think that you feel very confident with those 3 teams at the top that is going to be one. It's also why, too, you see in certain markets, they're plus 850 to have the most wins. The Rams are. They're still behind the Baltimore Ravens because the makeup of that division, one would assume that, not assume, but likely you're going to split your 2 series with the Seahawks and the 49ers, just given the familiarity and how good all these teams are.
Seattle, of course, your defending Super Bowl champs. Their second shot on the board, plus 180, so not a huge price difference at the top of the board. The 49ers, plus 280. And, of course, injuries, I feel like, have been a derailing issue for San Francisco for a long time. Nick Bosa continues to recover from his ACL. He did speak on the podium this past week as OTAs got underway, talked a little bit about his recovery, said he's making progress. Realistic to think he could be back for training camp, but of course that's barring a setback. You still have Michael Williams returning from an ACL as well, Keon White, like a lot of these guys on the defensive side of the ball in particular. And I did want to play this sound real quickly, if you don't mind, from Christian McCaffrey this past week, because a big question about San Francisco each and every year is going to be his health and his availability, as he's the straw that stirs the drink on offense, kind of makes everything work for what Kyle Shanahan wants to do, about how he's utilized and preparing himself to play.
It's fine. I've been dealing with, those questions for 9 years, it feels like. I think the workload in our sport is really monitored in practice, not in games. We play 17 regular season games a year, and everybody's livelihoods are on the line. And so I always say on Sunday, you got to do whatever it takes to win. And that's not a coach's job. You don't tell a 3-point shooter, you only get 6 threes today. It's so much of it is rhythmic, and it's my job to put my body in the best position I can to go out there and play. And I think everything else can be monitored during the week or with a practice schedule, with certain ways you train, whatever it may be. But when it comes to game days, I like to think, prepare yourself to play in every snap.
Seems like he's kind of worked out a system to make that workload work for him.
I mean, him and Stafford are hand in hand, right? At the beginning of the season, we thought that these guys weren't going to be ready, and then he was fine, and obviously had the season that he did. So the success of your team is going to rely very much on him and the health of Brock Purdy, obviously. Purdy being all over the place in terms of his availability last year.
CMC is tied for 4th on the board to win Offensive Player of the Year at 11-1. Jahmyr Gibbs, your favorite, followed by Bijan Robinson and Jamar Chase. The Giants made some interesting additions today, and we know that their top guys in the wide receiver room have been dealing with injuries, so you're trying to backfill a little bit. But those signings, Juju Smith-Schuster, Braxton Berrios, and Odell Beckham Jr. I haven't seen that name in a minute.
No, I mean, it's not really great. It comes on the heels of, it was Schefter that went on Get Up on ESPN, say that looked like Malik Neighbors wasn't going to be ready for week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys, had to have a second surgery. My favorite joke was that the first surgery went so well, they just had to go second just to double check how good it was. It's clearly looking pretty rough for the recovery, which is also pretty fascinating because I was watching. He's not participating in 11-on-11 drills, but I was watching footage of Daniel Jones just dropping back and throwing passes, and my guy's coming back from an Achilles tear in December. So the recovery of Neighbors, one would assume not just the report from Schefter, but with this now, actions over words kind of deal, I would think that the Giants are not entirely comfortable with the depth of their wide receiver core, considering you're adding 3 today and 3 old guys at that.
Yeah, that and Darius Slayton with the core muscle surgery as well just doesn't bode particularly great for where you're at this point in the offseason. The OBJ one always is just interesting to me because he hasn't been relevant in years and years and years and years. And even the last time that we saw him was the Rams Super Bowl run. So that was 2021. So how many years removed are we from him actually being productive and playing a role?
I'm still so bitter about that because I had him to win Super Bowl MVP that year, and he was going to win it. Every target, I think he had a touchdown early. It looked like he was going to do everything, and then, of course, he got dinged up. Look, I think you're just adding bodies. The odds that all 3 of these guys are on the roster by the time we get to September, let's just say that if they are, you're probably not in a good spot. If you're the New York Giants, you're not the dream team that I believe Jackson Dart called them.
There is a lot of excitement, it sounds like, with the new coach and the potential for what the Giants can do this year. I'm not a huge believer just yet, but there's only time will tell on that. We also are questioning whether or not it will be trading day today for the Eagles and A.J. Brown to New England. We did get a little bit of an update on this from NFL insider Jordan Schultz about a half an hour ago. He said that both teams are in deep discussions on a trade that would send A.J. Brown to New England for a 2028 first-round pick, so kind of delaying that compensation a year. Other details of the trade package, according to Schultz, are still being finalized, but the expectation is the deal is still on track to happen.
What do you think? If they land him.
I think it'll be good for them, obviously, in the short term, because there's always going to be the honeymoon period of the new guy stepping in and making an impact, and it's all happy, and you're a team that's had a lot of success. I think that the Patriots' schedule is going to be really, really difficult this year compared to one that was historically easy last year, but now you're adding weapons to the offense that you needed for your young quarterback in Drake May.
He's 60-1 to win Offensive Player of the Year.
No? I don't think so, no.
That's my thought, is just so what do you do with this information once you have it? Because everything's pretty much priced into the market, right? Unless you are far and away higher on the New England Patriots than what is being presented to you, then there's not really a hey, let's bet on now, because obviously this has been factored in. But
think a breakout year for Devontae Smith in Philadelphia? Like, could you look at some of his totals over or something along those lines?
Yes, because Tanner McKee will be quarterback by the end of the year. But I do think that, like Brown, I could paint you the picture as whether or not you want to believe it of high usage season because he gets traded for, right? Like you said, everything's good at the beginning, honeymoon stage type deal to use your term, high volume, high catches. If the Patriots regress, what if they're trailing in some more of these games? You have to ask more of Drake May. So that lends itself to even more numbers for Brown potentially just on the periphery that maybe that's worth looking at. But I feel like I'd want a little bit more than 60-1 because he's never really had, he's a good receiver. He's never really had, it looks like, the profile of a dude that can do 100 catches, 1,500 yards, and near 20 touchdown type season.
I saw a report on Florio's website that he deleted his Twitter, so maybe he's turning over a new leaf and really gonna be a different guy. Also, as we're talking about NFL football is coming up at large with the World Cup very soon. And if you're looking to put your World Cup knowledge to the test at the highest level, got a fun little contest for you. Splash Sports offering $1 million guaranteed in a high stakes survivor. $1,000 to enter, $1 million on the line. You can only use a team once. Pick wisely from the group stage all the way through the knockout rounds. Outlast everyone else, and the $1 million is yours. Right now, new players, if you use our promo code VSIN, VSIN, that'll get you a 50% deposit match up to $100, a free Quick Picks entry up to $20, plus a 100% Quick Picks payout boost on an entry up to $20. Entries do close, though, coming up on June 11th, so don't wait. Head over to splashsports.com/VSIN. Code VSIN as well. Must be 21 or older. Available in select states only. We got to step aside here on Money Moves. When we come back, though, the Stanley Cup Final is set and getting underway tomorrow. We'll preview it all next, right here on VSIN, the Sports Betting Network.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSIN Pro. VSIN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSIN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSIN, the Sports Betting Network.
Tony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Fun week ahead as both the Stanley Cup Final and NBA Finals are set to get underway. And who better to talk NBA and the New York Knicks than the host of New York, John Jastrzemski, joins us here on the Progressive Guest Line. You can catch him on SNY TV, all over the radio, of course, here on VSIN as well. And JJ, your Knicks have been pretty darn good, have not lost a game since April 23rd, been dominant as well. It feels like as these series get longer, they get better. What have you made of what the Knicks have done here to this point?
Absolutely remarkable, guys. Listen, when they were down 2-1 against the Atlanta Hawks, I did not have on my bingo card 11 consecutive playoff wins, point differential that's rivaling the Steph KD Warriors, the 89 Lakers. It's been historic. Now, you could sit there and tell me that the Eastern Conference stinks and they're beating the snot out of crummy teams. I think that's definitely part of the equation, but I don't know how anybody could poo-poo 11 straight playoff wins or that point differential. And that's why I think the narrative has kind of shifted, and you've seen it with the books too, where at the start of the postseason, yeah, there were people, myself included, that easily could have made the case that in a weak East, the Knicks could go and get to the NBA Finals. But I think the thought was, hey, there'll be a sacrificial lamb against whoever comes out of the West. And because the Knicks have played so well, and now it's going to be a super talented but young San Antonio team, I think you're seeing a different tune on that. And a lot of folks, myself included, think the Knicks are very live in the series.
Speaking of sacrifices, why has Mitchell Robinson not considered sacrificing his pinky and just cutting it off so that he can be ready as a true New Yorker here? What do we make of this absence potentially, and just and what you're hearing about what he could come back and how this could impact the series?
Gang, I'm not going to try to play a doctor on radio or on TV, but I'm going to play a doctor for a minute. Mitchell Robinson's going to play. He's going to play. I mean, he's already practicing. I know this pinky could be problematic. I'd be way more concerned if we were talking about somebody who was going to have the ball in their hands a ton. What do the Knicks need Mitchell Robinson to do? They need him to rebound. They need him to play defense. They need him to play 12 to 15 minutes a night. Even with that hand being messed up, I think he can do that. And the good news for Knicks fans, I don't think his free throw shooting could get any worse. So who knows? Maybe a broken pinky is going to have him shooting 40% from the foul line instead of 30%. So look, we'll see what kind of shape that hand and that pinky is going to be right out of the gate from game one. But I expect him to play. And if he could do the dirty work, that'll be good enough for the Knicks.
Is it what's the baseball movie where the kid breaks his arm and it becomes a Major League Baseball pitcher? Like maybe all of a sudden
Is
Mitchell
that Rookie of the Year? Yeah, Rowan Gardner. Come on, Rowan Gardner.
Maybe Mitchell Robinson all of a sudden is going to become like an 80% free throw shooter now.
I just like that visual, though, the swing back, the zoop.
Yeah.
I would love that for Mitchell Robinson. That'd be great. Speaking of the defensive end of things, though, what does that look like against Wemby? I know we were talking earlier, and, of course, Robinson plays into that, but OG Anunoby, is he going to be the go-to guy against Victor Wembanyama? How do you see it?
Stormy, I think you're going to see a ton of New York Knicks trying to slow down this super freak. If you go back to the regular season games that they played, Anunoby, who has this defensive versatility, we've seen it in the past where you'll see him on Tyrese Maxey, and then you look up and you're like, wow, he's guarding Joel Embiid. He can guard all 5 positions on the floor. You'll see that. I think you'll see a little of Josh Hart. You'll see a little of the big guys, too. The one element that I'd be careful with here, I don't love the idea of a lot of Karl Anthony Towns on Wemby because the Knicks need Karl Anthony Towns on the floor. The last thing I would want from a Knicks perspective is Cat picking up some silly, dopey fouls and getting baited by Wemby, and then all of a sudden he's got to spend extended minutes on the bench. Knicks need him stretching the floor, distributing, playing the sort of offense that he's been playing literally since Game 4 of the Atlanta series.
What do you make of what they're going to get from Josh Hart? Because I would assume Hart's going to see a lot of the similar treatment that he saw in this last series where they're going to play off of him and dare him to shoot.
You nailed it. That's what we're going to see in Game 1. Here's the good news. Josh Hart shot the ball well in the regular season. He shot 40% from 3. And Game 1, that's what Kenny Atkinson, the Cavaliers, decided to do. I was at Game 2. I want to say, missed his first 2 threes, then got red hot, played off the Garden crowd, and was the leading scorer in Game 2. Josh Hart is one of these guys that's fearless. Like, he fits New York and fits this team so beautifully that I'm not worried about him. I know it's going to be a storyline. I know it's something a lot of people are going to talk about. That's all well and good. Josh Hart is able to impact the game in so many different ways. Rebounding, defense, getting the team out in the fast break, getting those 50-50 balls. I think you'll see him play off that MSG crowd, at least in 1 or 2 of these games. I'm not saying he's going to go and shoot 50% from 3, but I don't think it's going to be a monstrous liability where we're talking about it for like 6 games of this series.
Talking NBA Finals with John Jastrzemski here on the Progressive Guest Line. The over 5.5 games is juiced to -170, so I know a lot of us at least hope and expect this is going to be a longer series. When all said and done, how do you think this thing shakes out? How many games do we go? Do we get the distance? What's your thought?
So, Stormy, I definitely think we're getting over 5.5 games. I thought so in the Western Conference Final. The series really didn't live up to the billing, despite the fact that it went 7 games. You had the instant classic in Game 1. Then, for the most part, it was a lot of blowouts until we got to Game 7. I think this series is going to be way more tightly contested. I do. I think the Knicks are finally going to be in for it because they're going up in weight class against Wemby, against the physicality of what San Antonio is bringing to the table. But let me take the New York glasses off for a second. Why do I like the Knicks in this series? 1, they're on an insane heater. They've won 11 straight playoff games. 2, I think they're the deeper team and the more experienced team. Look, San Antonio, especially in the backcourt, you got to beat up the Aaron Fox. I love Stephon Castle. I love Dylan Harper. These guys have been turning the ball over a ton throughout this postseason. If you do that against the New York Knicks, you're not going to win the series. You're not going to be able to survive that. So Knicks are going to have to answer for Wemby. I don't like getting nuts about regular season matchups because, to me, the Knicks-Celtics series a year ago is a perfect example of that. Knicks swept them, or the Celtics swept them in the regular season. Different story come playoff time. But we did see in this OKC San Antonio series, San Antonio matched up well with OKC. OKC was beat up. OKC ended up losing the series. Gang, I would have 1,000% picked the Thunder to beat the Knicks. I would have, because I think their physicality and what they would have done to Jalen Brunson would have been incredibly problematic. I'm just going to rely upon the history of the league. The history of the league tells us teams don't go from the lottery to winning a championship. So maybe that's me trying to will that parade down the Canyon of Heroes, maybe trying to will that party that could be happening at the end of June in New York City. But Knicks are hot. They've been good to me this postseason. Let's stick with it. I'll take the Knicks in a classic 7-game series.
I will remove Jalen Brunson as an option. Who are the other choices for MVP for the Knicks?
This is brutal because you know this and I know this. More than likely, if the Knicks win, it's going to be Brunson. And if the Spurs win, it's going to be Wemby. The guy I would give you, OG Anunoby. And the reason I would give you OG Anunoby is because, hey, he has the capability of knocking down the three. We saw that in the Atlanta series. We saw it before he got hurt against Philly, where he could go and average 20 points a game. But if Wemby is somewhat contained and this becomes a storyline and all of a sudden you get a couple of inefficient games out of Jalen Brunson, I, for one, like it more so than Karl-Anthony Towns. One, I'm getting a better price on it. Two, Towns can really only impact the game offensively. His defense has been better. I give him credit. He's playing hard. He's trying. But you're not going to put defense and Karl-Anthony Towns necessarily in the same sentence. So I'm giving you a lottery ticket. I want everybody to be aware of this. MVP other than Wemby, other than Brunson, is a lottery ticket. OG Anunoby.
I love it, JJ. I was trying to make the case for 60-1 earlier, and you're just helping cement it in my mind that I'm going to throw it in the account. I think it's fun, and I think it's completely realistic in terms of the long shot options that we have here. Last, 60 seconds before we let you go. Game 1 coming up on Wednesday. Spurs up from 4.5 to 5.5 point favorites. Do you agree with the line moves? Any early thoughts on Game 1?
Don't love the line going against the Knicks, Stormy. However, the Game 7 trend that I blindly bet is usually you have that 7-game series, I'm fading you in Game 1. So I know the Knicks were rusty against Cleveland. They were down by 20-something points. Newsflash, if the Knicks fall behind by 23 and they're playing the fourth quarter, they're not coming back and winning, and they're not covering the 5.5. But I think Mike Brown and the Knicks will use that as a teaching moment, and I'm going to grab those 5.5 with the New York Knicks. And not only that, gang, let's have a little fun here. Let's take the Knicks to win Game 1, Knicks to win the series. Because to me, Knicks are going to go and win this series. Still in Game 1 is a nice place to start. We'll add that as well. I'm
all for it, JJ. Thank you so much for the time. We appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, dude.
Anytime, gang. Appreciate y'all. Keep up the good work.
John Jastrzemski, everybody. And I think it's funny that he brings up that first game specifically where Cleveland, against Cleveland, where they come all the way back. There is a prop on DraftKings, and, they expand the markets for the finals for a comeback win from a certain deficit. 20-plus points, plus 450, 25-plus points, 13-1, 30-plus points, 30-1. Not enough.
No.
Not nearly enough.
No.
Not nearly enough. But I think it's funny that they're giving you options. Okay, we got to step aside from the NBA Finals to the Stanley Cup Final coming up after this. All things Canes Vegas next.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
As the NBA and NHL postseason roll on, we got MLB in full swing. The sports calendar never stops, and the Sharp Plays is covering it all. They've been winning for 15 straight years. All of it documented, logs posted publicly at sharpplays.com. That kind of transparency we know rare in the industry. When Sharp Plays move, the sports books take notice. Advanced AI, trusted insider intel. They're finding value before numbers shift. Start winning today at sharpplays.com. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you back here on Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Real quickly, before we get into some of the Stanley Cup playoff action, I did want to put some numbers to some of the conversation we had with John Jastrzemski last segment as we were talking through Spurs-Knicks as the NBA final set to get underway on Wednesday. So he loves the Knicks to win the series, plus 170. Knicks to win Game 1 and the series, pairing those together, plus 390. Knicks to win in 7 as your correct score, 7-1. And we were also talking about kind of just the margin of victory that we have seen from the Knicks over these last couple rounds, over this crazy 11-game win streak that they've been on. 10-1 ATS in that stretch as well. Average margin of victory, JVT, 23.8 points per game. Average cover margin, more than 20 points per game.
Mm-hmm. They have been very dominant. Now, it is worth pointing out that you have played the 10th, 15th, and 17th ranked defenses in the NBA.
Path plays a role.
Yeah, it does. And again, this is not to say they can't win this. I'm just saying in terms of the dominant offensive performances that we have seen, they have been playing average, very average defensive opponents outside of the Hawks, who are a good team, and they did a very good job in that series, obviously. So, the dominance with which the Knicks have played on offense, I would temper my expectations a bit, considering how good the Spurs are.
Well, yeah, the Spurs are a different animal, absolutely. But I will push it a little bit farther back, too, since April 3rd, if you want to go back to the end of the regular season as well. Average margin of victory, still 18.5 points per game. Coverage margin, more than 13.5 points per game. The only two straight-up losses they had were those two against the Hawks to start off round one, both of which were by a point. So they've been awesome for a while now, and probably, you would imagine, pretty confident headed into this series.
Yes. And look, they provide more offensive challenges, or excuse me, defensive challenges in this case, for the Spurs to defend. There are going to be more challenges here. Look at the way they beat Oklahoma City in Game 7. Every time Shea got the ball, they sent a double at him. And then the rest of it was Oklahoma City praying that Jared McCain could save their bacon, or Cason Wallace, or any of the other pieces. And those are all good pieces when you're talking about them being your third-ish option. But that was just not enough for Oklahoma City. Now there is a difference. Now there is an OG Anunoby type that is going to get some of those catch-and-shoot opportunities. Now there is Karl-Anthony Towns, who is going to get opportunities to score in isolation and on his own and provide for others, especially when he's at the top of the key. You've seen that a lot. So if there is possessions in which Victor Wembanyama is defending him at the top, that is going to allow Karl-Anthony Towns to facilitate, like we have seen him, and as John mentioned a couple of times as well in our conversation. There is Josh Hart, who you're going to play off of, who can shoot the ball particularly well for stretches and can potentially burn them if that's the strategy they're going to use. So, yeah, there's more things. And then you just get into the bench of who's coming off of the bench for them, the versatility you have there, especially in the backcourt when it comes to the bench, too. So I think the thing I'd quibble with John a little bit is I do think whether or not he plays, and I would agree that he's going to play, but the Mitchell Robinson injury does matter because you do need to be able to dunk the ball. You need to be able to rebound the ball. That's a little easier said than done when you have a fractured pinky, when you're talking about grabbing it. And even in the sense of playing, Stormy, I know this is hardcore, but it's with that pinky. Do you have the strength to hold on to rebounds through traffic? Are you going to lose some of those? Like all those sort of things I think do matter, and why this injury is going to play a role. Because you can go double big and you can play both him and and Karl-Anthony Towns together, and then force the Spurs' hand as to what they're going to do for certain stretches of game time too. So there's, I think, a little bit more to it. And I think I'm going to be very interested to see how he performs if and when he plays in this series.
And with us knowing what the injury is, you imagine that makes it that much easier to get targeted, to re-injure it or re-aggravate it as well as you go. But as we shift gears to the Stanley Cup final, we talk about the Knicks' dominance. How about the Carolina Hurricanes' dominance and what they've been able to do this postseason? 12-1, the lone loss we saw Game 1 against Montreal when they had a historic amount of rest that we've never seen before in the Stanley Cup postseason. At that point, they end up closing out the series on Friday with a 6-1 win. They go up 3-0 in the first period and never look back after that. With that, best of 7 series set up with the Vegas Golden Knights. Canes minus 155 series favorites. Vegas sitting there plus 130 dogs. Game 1 coming up tomorrow night from PNC Arena. Same prices. Neither team touched the respective conference finals trophy. So Vegas first staying away from the Clarence Campbell. Carolina followed suit on Friday. Here is their head coach when asked if he had any input on the team's decision to remain hands-off on the Prince of Wales trophy.
Not really. Not really. I had a few guys ask me what I thought, and I said, do what you want, but don't touch it.
All in good fun. I did like that, though.
So what is it? The Knights touched it the first time and lost, didn't touch it the second time and won.
Yes. And that's
That's enough of a sample size for me.
Shut up. That's genuine. It is funny, though, you see that with teams because like there's somebody, I can't remember who put it out. It was like all of the teams that had been there before and what they had done previously. It was like same thing with the Pittsburgh Penguins back in the day with Sidney Crosby. They didn't touch it and then they did, and it was a whole thing. So it's just a fun element to it. Nobody touches the Stanley Cup until their team has won it either. It's a big deal there. I know you usually kind of like pitch me questions on this series, but you've been paying a lot of attention to the NHL. How excited are you for it? Do you have a strong opinion?
Oh, I'm like really excited for this. I mean, it is actually, I guess you can say it's somewhat akin to what we're going to see in the NBA Finals in that you get this dominant force coming in the Carolina Hurricane, who have just wiped the floor with pretty much everybody they've faced outside of one really bad spot for them because it was just, what would you say, the longest rest we've seen for a team going into a series like that. So this team is, I would pretty much call them blemish-free at this point right now with the way that they've been playing. We apparently, though, have just a ticking time bomb in goal, potentially, in Frederik Andersen, or maybe. No, seriously, because you're not the only one who said this, so I'm not mocking you. I'm just saying, like, if that comes to fruition, that's going to be pretty big for Carolina. But as Shane Knighty put it, this has been such a great team in just limiting the opportunities that he has in terms of turning away shots. You're not going to have to do that a ton. And maybe that's going to be the case because in watching Vegas, there haven't been a lot of the games, especially in that Anaheim series that come to mind, where it's like a bunch of high-volume shooting nights. They were just, it was effective winning, winning your expected goals, getting higher chance opportunities, and generating those. And so are you going to have to go the route of more volume and putting those on Andersen, or are you just going to continue to do what you do and get in front of him and just get some of those more high-quality shots against him and see if your style can work against a team that is not giving those up?
Yeah, I mean, the Hurricanes play so well in front of Freddie that I know in the Montreal series, there were a lot of people midway through the series that were trying to talk about, well, hey, Carolina is always a shot volume team and Montreal is a quality over quantity type, which is fair. But to the extent that they were only having 12, 13 shots on goal. That what they did over that 3-game stretch was historically low shots on goal, and that's because, in large part, what Carolina is able to do, their dictating, suffocating style of defense, the way they sell out in front of Freddie Andersen as well. So how will Vegas withstand, right, that relentless pressure and forecheck that they have? And then on the other side, I think we saw against Colorado that they can hold up on D and in net themselves, right? They limited the best offensive team in the National Hockey League, the President's Trophy winning Colorado Avalanche, albeit, yes, a little bit hampered with some of their top guys dealing with injuries. But they limited a group that even coming in with all of that information readily available, people were still saying that Colorado was going to roll in that series at large. So you look at the special teams, I think Vegas, you would probably give a slight edge to overall. Both of their penalty kills are great. Kane's penalty kill slightly better, but we've seen Vegas turn their kill chances into shorthanded goals repeatedly. Vegas is the better team on the power play, so maybe could they be able to sneak one in and get an edge there? I think so. And then I would give, and you say it tongue in cheek with my standpoint on Freddie Andersen, though. I think that Vegas has the edge in net as well with what Carter Hart has been able to do. And I was looking into some of the numbers the other day. If you go back to how the postseason started against Utah, JVT, those first 4 games of the series, Vegas was 2-2. Carter Hart had an .876 save percentage. The 12 games since, Vegas is 10-2, .934 save percentage, 191 goals against. The playoffs as a whole, he's got 8.5 goals saved above average. He has been awesome.
Yeah, I think going back to one of the points you made, the other thing that I was going to bring up was the power play for Carolina in the postseason has not been anywhere near as effective as what it was in the regular season, right? They were top 10 team in terms of power play. Now, maybe it's just small sample size. They've only played in how many games at this point right now? 13. So maybe just small sample size, haven't had that many opportunities, so that's going to bounce back. They've only converted 12%, though, of their power plays. So if you're going to be that poor in the special teams play, the times you get those opportunities, I mean, that's pretty big.
Yeah. And I'm curious to see what ultimately happens, even from a 5-on-5 standpoint for Carolina's top guys, because the Stankoven line has looked more like the top line than their actual top line. And will they continue to be able to operate at the clip they have in terms of that second line? Meanwhile, Aho, Svechnikov, Jarvis, they've actually, in 132 minutes they've been on ice, Carolina's been outscored 3-2. No other line has been down in their minutes. Stankoven line, meanwhile, 12-4 goal differential in their favor. That doesn't seem particularly sustainable against a team like Vegas. So that goes back to Conn Smythe for me, of nobody really rising to the occasion from a skater standpoint of just, does it have to be Frederik Andersen by default if he doesn't get totally blown up in one of these games?
I'm just curious what if it's 4-3, it's a game, or it's a 7-game series that the Hurricanes win. Andersen's awful in the 3 they lose, but great in the 4 that they win.
I don't know.
There's not many, like you said, there's not many skaters that seem to stick out.
I have an interesting prop that I found I want to tell you about when we come back. One more segment to go. The show's gone by too fast. We will return on Money Moves in a moment.
We're so happy
you're back.
watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
If you're looking for an edge this baseball season, you got to check out the VSiN Daily Diamond, sharp daily baseball betting insight all season long. Former MLB pitcher Jensen Lewis and Dave Ross breaking it all down, lines, totals, props, and futures. You can subscribe to the VSiN Daily Diamond wherever you get your podcasts. While you're there, search VSiN for the full podcast lineup. You can catch Money Moves, Pod to the Futures, everything from the NBA and college sports to horse racing and more. VSiN is the sports betting network as we welcome you back here to Money Moves. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel back here with you. I mentioned before the break there was a prop that I wanted to present you. You told me your opinion in the commercial break, but I want our audience to get that opinion as well. I saw on BetMGM they had a prop that was just for a goalie to win Conn Smythe. You had like forward, which was minus 2 something. I can't remember exactly what the price was. And then the goalie was like plus 250 range. Obviously, with that, you get Frederik Andersen and Carter Hart. Freddie Andersen is already around a 2-to-1 price, so it's not that significant of a price difference. But considering I have been a guy who's been anti-Freddie and anti-Carter Hart, is that a way to just be like, oh, hey, I can just like get something?
You've been a guy that has been anti?
A gal. Sorry.
I don't like it.
No, not worth it.
No, I just think that I
don't really think so either.
I think you're more likely. I was playing devil's advocate. We talked about this earlier in the show, but I do think you're more likely to be right about the non-hockey dynamic floating around Carter Hart, and there being a detractor or two in the voter pool that would, on principle, not vote for him for something like this. I don't know if that's the case, but I just think that's more likely. And look, you could be right and wrong about Frederik Andersen. You could be right in that he can't keep this up. You could be wrong in the sense of that just doesn't happen again until next season. I mean, maybe he's just on a heater that's ultimately going to work for him with the combination of a defense that has not been allowing him to be put in positions to really get destroyed. So I ultimately would rather just have Andersen. And it's funny because I've done nothing with this, but I've kind of been his devil's advocate guy like the whole time this postseason run. Look, sometimes, I mean, how many games have we talked about? How many they played? I just asked.
13.
They've only played 13. I mean, that's a very small sample size.
For sure.
So you can keep that up for another 17, should you sweep them.
No question about it.
Or just 4 victories. That's all you need, right? You don't need 7 games of good Frederik Andersen. You need 4.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
For ESPN, I did have to submit official picks, and it's always fun because everybody gets all up in arms about it. I will say I've been really good with them throughout the course of the postseason. My one really bad loser was Colorado in 6, but I was not alone in that. The bulk of the ESPN analysts and analysts at large were on that side. What do you?
I was just going to. Well, there's a couple of things. First off, I come back and laid $1.58 on over 5.5 games.
Brutal.
Who would have thought that you were going to lose it because it was the Knights who were going to.
That's what I said on Friday when we were grading. When we were grading them, I go, oh, silly me that I thought that the Golden Knights could be competitive in this series, so I took the over 5.5 games.
Also, to the point of having the worst bet ever, somebody tweeted at us. I think it was the Pod to the Futures from the week before. Anyway, somebody told me that my pick for the Cavaliers to win the East was the worst bet ever, and I was like, well, I feel like that's not true, but I feel like there's probably worse bets. They made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean.
That's true.
It's not like I picked them to win the East and then they won 3 games in the entire regular season.
That's a valid.
They made it.
Yes.
They lost in spectacular fashion.
I don't
want to see Mitch. I'm going to leave out that security door.
I haven't bet it yet, but I am probably going to be on the under 5.5 for game 1 as well. It's around even money, depending on where you look. Minus 102 is what I see right now at DraftKings. I just get the vibes that this is going to be a lower scoring season. Carolina has been an under team all postseason, 10-3 to the under from that standpoint. I don't think that Vegas structurally is going to give you what Montreal was doing on the other side of that series. We'll play it by ear, but at least looking ahead to tomorrow, that is an early thought that I have for game 1 in Raleigh. This is also a stormy series, as some people have pointed out on Twitter. The Canes mascot. Well, it's criminal that I don't have a picture with the Canes mascot at this point, with how many times I have been out there in Raleigh. But yes, the Canes mascot's name is Stormy, and for years, its Twitter handle was NHL Stormy, and it got tweeted at a lot about me. I got tweeted at a lot about the Canes mascot. It was a whole thing, and I don't know if this is the reason or not, but the mascot's Twitter handle is different now.
Stormy Canes.
And I think it might have something to do with the confusion that there was in the National Hockey League with the Stormies out there. Just don't. Never mind. I'm not even going to say the thing I was going to say because then it'll catch on and then you'll use it, and I'm not down for that. One last thing on this series before. Actually, you know what? Let's just get to your best bets because you do have some in pocket for today.
I just have one.
Let's go.
Major League Baseball today. What you got? You're going to say, you got something to interrupt me on?
I forgot. We have to go in order. It's like sequential. We have to grade last week and then go to now, right?
You forgot what we do every single show?
Sorry.
Every single day?
It's it's a Monday. Let me live. Okay, real quickly, just to grade some recap stuff. We were able to cash the Canes 1.5 games in that series with Montreal. I forgot last week after the Golden Knights Avs series to grade Nathan McKinnon, Conn Smythe. So that one is out. We still have Vegas to win the Cup and Mitch Marner for Conn Smythe as our remaining futures there. You had one of your fun props.
It wasn't very fun.
Burn.
Yeah, it wasn't very fun. I mean,
I forgot about this one.
Yeah, so we graded. We didn't make your graphic because there was a lot. So just point this out because Stormy put this in the rundown. Yeah, the Dodgers win the World Series, Nuggets win the Western Conference, didn't get there. So in totality, I have graded all of my NBA futures now that we're here at the NBA Finals because unlike Natasha Bedingfield, my story is not still being written. I am all done. 5-17 on my NBA futures. For plus 2 units.
That's awesome.
Joe Mazzulla getting that Coach of the Year, buddy. Thank goodness you got there because definitely needed it. So 5-17 again on the NBA futures, but coming out to up 2 units because Joe Mazzulla finally, I was so unplugged that I didn't realize he had won Coach of the Year until like Saturday.
Well, they also took
they
their
awarded it
sweet
like 5
time
days ago, but
and at
yeah.
a random time.
Yeah, I don't understand what that was, but good job, Joe. Thank you very much.
That and all our Hornets futures, I feel like, were the backbone of the portfolio.
No, because if they would have made the playoffs, they made the play-in. That was the 4-1 cash, but then we had a 12-1 to make the playoffs, which obviously they could not do. The one that I guess you can call lucky to an extent, just because it looked like he was going to miss too much time, but Victor Wembanyama to make All-NBA first team was among some of the winners. We had that. That was a preseason one, too. But a lot of going down on the ship with some of the awards. So Joe Mazzulla saves your bacon. And it's a good point of the futures as well. You know, you play enough small plays, and you hit, a few of those. I hit 5 of 22, but still coming out on top. That's, just got to be able to get them.
All right, you have something official to add today.
Chicago White Sox. Let's play it. Let's see. Money line play here on the White Sox. Really interesting and fun matchup here. So the Twins are about $1.56 favorite. We saw some higher prices on Chicago earlier in the day. White Sox kind of moving in my favor. Market's moving in my favor here. David Sandlin versus Joe Ryan. I feel like the pricing on Ryan, he's been pitching well, but this is crazy. You saw this open overnight, Stormy, at minus 175. And part of it is apt. I mean, he's got a 2.94 ERA, 2.58 fielding independent. I do wonder if at some point we're waiting for, not like the blow up, but you look at some of these numbers. He's allowing half a home run every 9 innings, a 5.3% home run to fly ball ratio, which is nuts for a guy who not only is a fly ball pitcher, but one that gives up barrels at a 9.6% rate, hard hit rate over 40. Like, at some point, you would think that Ryan's going to get there, but I thought it was just a pricing thing for me. So over $1.30 on the comeback for the White Sox. Sandlin's making his second career start in the majors. I think the worry and what might get me here is that his first start was against this Twins team just last week. 6 innings pitched, 1 hit, 4 Ks. That classic little, hey, it's the first time seeing his stuff. Now, this is the second time around for the Twins. So what does that look like for him? Hopefully not great, but I do think that pricing, even with the injuries there for the lineup for the White Sox, I do think that I have a shot here at the price. So let's go.
I did want to ask you on the way out, and I know you don't have an official play on this game, but your Angels in action today against the Rockies. They're a big favorite. Jose Soriano is going, and after the great start that he had to the season, you talked about regression coming and that it sure did at this point. And 3 straight losses for him now in his last starts. Does he get back on the wagon, though, against this bad Colorado team?
I mean, zoom out even further. Remember how, look at the way he's being priced here. The Angels are 1-5 in his last 6 starts. So you factor in that with the market pricing, and it has been very favorable to go against Soriano. To your point, he gets smoked by the Dodgers in the 2 starts since 11 2/3, 5 earned runs, 11 Ks to 5 walks. He's been okay. So I think he's going to be able to come out there and give them an opportunity to win this game as his ERA would dictate. Having said that, Kyle Freeland is just pretty easy. 8.08 ERA, fielding independence at 6.25. He's really giving you nothing. I think that if the Angels aren't able to get this would be obviously a massive upset because they're over $2 favorites, but it would be absolutely ridiculous. And I would throw out there as well, do you have the price in front of you really quickly for the Cardinals against the Rangers? Only because
yes.
Michael McGreevy, what's the price here?
Plus 108 on St. Louis at home, minus 130 for DeGrom and the Rangers.
Yeah, I would take a piece. I think the market's getting this right and driving up DeGrom. McGreevy's coming off his worst start of the season. Got cooked for 5 earned runs, struck out 6, but walked 3 in 4 innings. We've been waiting for the downfall. The FIP's over 4. ERA is under 3. His walk-out to strikeout ratio, his walk-to-strikeout ratio is awful. Like, this dude should be getting got. And eventually, we were waiting for the shoe to fall. Fell last time against Milwaukee. I think the Rangers can get it done here. Although, very quietly, last 3 starts for DeGrom, 7 home runs allowed.
Okay. That's a wrap for us today. Follow the Money. Mitch and Paul will be on next. They'll have plenty of MLB discussion today, including talking and breaking down the wins for June. After that, of course, VSiN Primetime, VSiN by the books in the morning. We got you covered all day, every day here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.